How's it going, everybody? I am back talking about Cyberpunk 2077, this time via an impressions video. I think it was last year when I did an impressions video for the Ascent on the Xbox Series X, and I think I had mentioned in that video that I wanted to bring back shorter impressions-based content, but never sort of got around to it. And earlier this year, I tried to basically adopt some first impressions live streams where I would live stream the game for a few hours and then, archive and upload that stream to YouTube. And, some stuff, life gets in the way. And, basically, it's been several months since I've actually live streamed anything. And so I'm trying to get back up on my feet here, but this time taking it a bit slower. And so I wanted to sort of bring back impressions-based content and video, do what I was originally going to do when I did the Ascent impressions and bring back that sort of style. And also, I think because of how long the live stream first impressions were, for a lot of people, watching a archive 2 or 3 hour stream to get my general thoughts on what I feel about a game isn't really the best approach there. So I'm also debating as well doing like an hour gameplay of sort of live commentary, me just playing this game, exploring the world, maybe doing some side missions here and there. So we'll see how that goes, whether or not I'll do that. But I'm actually planning on, I'm hoping to try and complete this game by the end of next week. There's a lot of games that I gotta play, and I definitely want to, by the end of this year, catch up with the majority of the most modern releases and stuff like that. So talking about Cyberpunk 2077 here, this is a game that was very notable for me. It was one that I was highly anticipating, and not because I, got drawn into all the hype and stuff that CDPR was putting out, but just, I'm a huge fan of sci-fi, and this game for a long time was right up there in terms of like my most anticipated games, right up there with like Mirror's Edge Catalyst, Deus Ex, and even the canceled Prey sequel that we were supposed to get. This game was first announced in 2012, and I remember specifically I was at my friend's house at the time, and when I saw on Twitter, CD Projekt Red announced his brand new IP, Cyberpunk 2077. I was like, what the hell is this? And I watched the Bullets trailer on my phone for the first time, and just seeing that trailer, and it was a CGI trailer, but the developers were talking about that trailer actually being the target render for the game's visual quality, meaning that they were expecting to hit that level of visual quality, or they were trying to hit that level of visual quality when the game came out. But just CD Projekt Red to me was, no unknown studio. I think, they really gained a lot of fans, and, a lot of people really discovered them when The Witcher 3 launched, which was really their first major console release. Yes, The Witcher 2 was ported to Xbox 360, but I don't think a lot of people, especially because there wasn't a lot of advertisement for that, really checked out the game on that platform. So when The Witcher 3 launched, and it was heavily advertised, and CDPR just did everything correct with that game's release. Yes, it launched in somewhat of an unpolished state. Witcher 3 was it was a much more polished experience than what we got with Cyberpunk, that's for sure. But CDPR just managed the communication so well in that game, and it was so vast, and especially coming off the cusp of games like Skyrim, people wanted like a fantasy oriented RPG, and this one was very mature and stuff like that. So I had known CDPR basically from the work on The Witcher 2 and enjoying The Witcher 2, and so when they talked about the idea behind, Cyberpunk 2077 at the time, it was really, really exciting to me. And I love science fiction worlds. I love futuristic stuff. And, we've been graced lately, especially in this industry, in this past generation in particular, where even our military shooters have been, taking on sci-fi oriented worlds and atmospheres and stuff. And so just seeing a game of this size and caliber, it was really exciting to me. And so that's why this game, I was really anticipating it for a long time. Of course, when it launched, we all, of course, know the story. It was basically the poster child for how not to communicate your product to the public. Not only was the game in a really buggy, piss poor state, but a lot of features and a lot of the original vision behind what the developers communicated was simply not there. You know, the game world wasn't nearly as dynamic. People were comparing this game against Grand Theft Auto 5 and found that GTA 5 had a lot more dynamism in its world with the way that physics interacted and stuff like that. I mean, and even GTA 5 was a step down from even the likes of Grand Theft Auto 4, so that even made it a bit worse. So there are like all these issues and stuff, and I decided to wait on the game when it came out. I did not even play it. I said, no, I want to wait till this game gets supported on the brand new generation of systems, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. And I waited and waited and waited, and here we are, you know, 2 years almost from the game's release. They patched it up earlier this year, and I decided to go ahead and give it a shot. What do I think of this game now that I've played it, and now that I've waited essentially 10 years to play this game? Well, I definitely enjoy the experience, however, and you know what, I'll start off by saying this. The game world in particular for me is the most striking, one of the most artistically detailed and most interesting open world locations that I have ever played in a video game. This world, every single time I jump into this game, it's just like there's something interesting to see. And just driving around the game world and just being like on the streets with other people and, you know, just seeing all the different alleyways and where that leads to, it's so detailed, it's so dense, and everything is just so expertly crafted. I think, if anything, this game may have not hit all the expectations, but for me, exceeded the expectations when it comes to the world design and the atmosphere. There is just nothing like this game, you know, on the market. There's no other world out there, you know, that kind of comes close to this. You have games like Deus Ex that have a futuristic sci-fi world, but nothing on this scale. You can't jump into a car and drive around, and you can't, you know, the city hubs in the Deus Ex games are not even nearly as vast as this. And so to see, you know, just a world like this that gives you this amount of freedom to explore is just it's such a treat, man. I mean, this whole game is just visual eye candy. From the moment that you start playing, you're just like, you're shell shocked at just the amount of detail, and nothing's sort of repeated. You know, it feels like a world that's really adapted over the course of many decades to become what it is. You know, it's not like the developer sat in here and used the same building 3 or 4 times. You know, everything is just so, it's just so well handled and so expertly crafted. And so I absolutely love exploring this world, and it is the main draw for this game, and it is why, despite everything that I'm about to say when it comes to the game's polish, it is why I still wholeheartedly recommend that you at least try this game out. If anything, just to be a part of this world, just to be a part of its atmosphere. It is astonishing, and you have never experienced anything like it in any other video game before. So that, to me, is the best thing about this experience so far, is just the world. It exceeds expectations. It is, you know, it's not as large as The Witcher 3, but The Witcher 3, when you just look at the difference between the complexity of the world, The Witcher 3 had lots of terrain. You know, it was like forest and mountains and fields and all this stuff. This game is smaller than The Witcher 3's world, which was, you know, at times could be too big considered. It's smaller than that, but it makes up for it in its density and complexity and its verticality in the world as well. You know, you have like sky bridges that you can just take, you know, you can walk up to, you can walk upstairs, and it takes you to interesting parts of the world. You know, man, it is just such a pleasure to just walk around and explore in this world. It really is. It's fantastic. So, that being said, as a polished experience, where does this game stand? Because we've all know it's been updated and patched and, you know, so on and so forth. I know a lot of people who have played this game already, and I know a lot of people who have not played this game, who are waiting for it to be patched and stuff like that. I have to say that I feel that, you know, obviously this game is in a much better state than when it was when it launched, but I do have to say I still feel this game is a very unpolished experience. It probably falls in line of what you would expect standard games to launch with today in terms of polished. It feels like, you know, you're playing a game that did come out, and you're playing it like on launch. You know, there's a lot of games, and it's kind of sad to say this, but it's true, that, let's just be honest here, the majority of video games launch in rather unpolished states, probably due to the size and complexity of a lot of games. You know, everything's open world these days, and so developers have crafted these significantly large worlds, and the polish of games has suffered immensely because of that. And so, you know, in this game, you still see things, even after all the patches, even after almost 2 years of this game being out, you still see things like cars in front of you spawning and despawning in traffic. You still see things like enemies getting stuck halfway into walls. Objects that you drop will just disappear. Sometimes bodies that you drop will just disappear and stuff like that in the world. People, and just the physics is really the main thing for me that kind of take me out of the experience. It kind of breaks the immersion. Sometimes you're driving, and you know, you're just driving at really high speeds, and all of a sudden your car will hit this little tiny thing in the road, and it's something that shouldn't even stop your car. But not only does it stop it, but it flips like a dozen times in midair, and then eventually falls down, and you know, cars just sort of, you know, break and shit. It's just a very wonky experience. Yes, it's better than what this game was at launch. I didn't experience anything near to what the videos were showing, so stuff like that is fixed, but I still wouldn't call this a polished experience. In fact, if you're waiting for a polished experience with this game, if you're waiting for more patches to come out and for, you know, the developers to fix basically the bulk of the issues, I would say still wait. You know, this is not a polished game experience. It feels like a game that you're playing on launch that has an acceptable amount of bugs without it becoming unplayable and just completely immersion breaking. You do notice the bugs when they happen. They do sort of, you know, catch your attention, and it breaks the immersion in that moment, but you can still play and enjoy the game relatively, you know, free from many hitches and crashes and stuff like that for, you know, your entirety of the playthrough. I think I'm probably around 30 to 40 hours into this game at the moment. I've had one crash in the entire game, and that was it. But again, I've had numerous small little immersion breaking bugs, in particular when it comes to the physics. That seems to be the most common thing, where it definitely, you know, does kind of sort of break the atmosphere in that particular moment. On top of that, I have to say that this game on PC, because I played both versions, I originally purchased an RTX 3080, and my plan was to play this game and then return to 3080 on PC. So I've seen this game with all of its graphical prowess and all the technology turned on. And I have to say that as gorgeous as this game looks on PC, I don't feel like you're missing out on a significant experience playing this game on PS5 or Xbox Series X. And that was something I was really happy about. You know, if you're wondering what the difference is on PC, yes, it's more polished, yes, it's a better looking game, but I wouldn't say that people who played this on PS5 or Xbox Series X didn't play the game. You know, this is it is a very good, attractive looking game, and does, to my eyes at least, look very current gen. And you know, the game seems to handle well in terms of the performance and, you know, frame rate target. I think that it's acceptable for the visual quality that you're getting. However, I do wish they were able to put ray trace reflections in this game rather than shadows. But with how heavy the ray traced implementation is on PC, I mean, even myself, I had, you know, even entertained the fact of turning down all ray tracing, turning it off completely in order to get a smooth 60 FPS with this game. It doesn't completely transform the game, the way the game looks in all scenarios, but in those cases where it is allowed to shine, it really does. That being said, I still feel this is a very attractive game on PS5, which is the version that you're seeing me play right now, and is the main way I'm playing this game, and I don't feel like you're getting any lesser of an experience playing this game on the new generation of systems versus what you would get maxed out on PC with all the bells and whistles and stuff. So I do have to say that when it comes to controls, though, that is one thing I did notice with this game. First of all, the driving controls are awful. This is one of the worst handling driving controls that I've ever played in an open world game. All the cars handled like boats. They're kind of wonky. They're unresponsive. It seems like the developers wanted to create a realistic driving palette for the game. And at times, it just feels like it doesn't really fit the atmosphere of the game. They give you these beautiful cars, so these really like well crafted, from an artistic standpoint, these really, very beautiful cars that kind of evoke 1980s futuristic styling and all that stuff. So they give you these really cool cars, and then you get to drive them, and it leaves a lot to be desired in that respect. I did not like the driving for this game. In fact, when I played this game on PC, I found that the mouse and keyboard was the preferable way to play this game, even when you're driving. I mean, you would expect that a gamepad would be basically one of the only ways to really enjoy driving in a game, especially like this. But I actually found that the cars were more responsive, and I enjoyed the driving a lot more playing with the mouse and keyboard, as weird as that sounds. With this game, in part due to the way that the controls felt with this game on the gamepad. The driving just does not feel responsive, and I don't like the way that the cars handle. All the cars sort of handle differently, so they have, they definitely spent some time in it, and apparently they've actually patched the driving to make it even better than when it was at launch. I guess it was even worse than it is right now at launch, but even in the state that it's in now, I don't feel like these are great driving controls. In fact, I really at times kind of loathe some of the driving sections in this game, and I love the car designs. I love the way all of the vehicles look, but the way that they handle is just not fantastic. Of all the cars that I've driven in the game, and there's been dozens, I probably would say that 2 actually handled acceptable to me, and most of those were actually off-road vehicles and whatnot. So there is that. I also just feel that the combat is I play this game a lot slower on consoles than I did on PC. On PC, when you have the mouse and keyboard controls, I found that you could play this game super fast, just because you have the super responsive controls, the accuracy of the mouse. Obviously when you're going over the gamepad, you can't necessarily play with that level of accuracy and speed, but I actually feel that the gameplay slows down significantly when you're playing this on a gamepad. Even regardless if you're playing this in 60 frames per second, I still feel like the combat does kind of slow down significantly. But the way that the gunplay feels is actually very nice. And for CDPR's first, really first-person perspective game, I have to say that they did a really good job of at least nailing a somewhat responsive shooter. You just have to make sure that you're playing at 60 FPS or playing with mouse and keyboard. The game actually really opens up in terms of combat feel and dynamics when you're playing this with a mouse and keyboard. But other than that, it's a very well-handling game, at least from that perspective. The gunplay is fine, and the stealth implementation is actually really good. I was very surprised about this. I thought that the stealth in this game was going to be rather lackluster, and CDPR has never really tackled stealth before, so I was actually expecting this to be quite awful and for me to actually prefer combat in the game. No, CDPR has actually done a really good job with the stealth implementation of this game. You can play this game like Deus Ex, and the level design is actually very, very good, where there's multiple ways to enter through buildings, there's multiple different paths and different alleys, different, like tunnels and scaffolding and all this other stuff that you can actually take to get to your objective. Usually there's like 3 or 4 ways to enter any given building or where your objective is located, and especially if you spend a lot of time with sort of your upgrades and hacking points and stuff, you can actually get through different areas in a variety of different ways and things like that. So I actually really appreciated the stealth in this game. It is my main way for actually entering and playing the game in any given area, and I think it feels just as good as any other stealth game typically. There's just a lot of other stuff that you have to kind of look out for. Security cameras are all over the place. You can do quick hacks and things like that. So there's a bit of a there's a bit of strategy involved when you're sort of entering an area to try and deactivate as many security systems as you can. So overall, I have to say that I am enjoying Cyberpunk 2077, in particular, mostly for the world. There's nothing quite like this in any other video game that I've played, and the way that they've crafted this world is just mind-blowing. There's so much detail, there's so much density. Again, like it seems to me, that they've done such a good job at making sure that every single alleyway, every single staircase, every tunnel, everything makes sense from a world building perspective. There's no, half finished walls or rooms or anything like that. It all just feels well crafted in that regard, and I have a feeling that that's what took this game so long, and is probably the reason why this game launched in such a buggy state, is because when you look at the world and just how dense the world is, I mean, just how much stuff there is, and the way it's just built, it's unbelievable. Again, there's nothing quite like this that I've played in a video game to this date, and it is why I'm going to recommend that everyone at least give this game a shot, even if the gameplay is not your cup of tea. To just be in this atmosphere, to be a part of this world, it's just, again, there's nothing quite like this, and it is so fun to just drive around and explore. Yes, you're fighting with the awful driving controls, but you still don't mind that, just because there's something interesting to look at every single turn in the game. Even the outskirts, where the game has like this desert, this vast wasteland and stuff, they have like just mountains of trash bags and all this just waste and pollution from just the overpopulation of the city. It's just incredible, looking at all this stuff. So I'm enjoying the game from that perspective. I'm enjoying the combat, and just stealthing through the environments. I think from a gameplay perspective, this is still a very fun game. It's not quite as dynamic, I feel, as what we were promised, but I'm able to forgive it because of what it does right. It does really, really, really well. And so if you've been on the fence about this game and you're still waiting to play this game, maybe you're wondering if it was still, you're waiting for it to be polished or whatever, I would still recommend waiting. This game needs to be, patched a couple more times for me to really feel comfortable recommending this as a polished experience. However, at this point, you can play this game and rest comfortably, noting that if you're playing this on a next generation, or I should say current generation system, you're going to get visual quality here that, does a really good job of at least giving you a somewhat comparable experience to the maxed out PC game. It's, again, not quite as polished as that respect, and if you have the ability to play this game on PC with all the bells and whistles, I would definitely recommend it. That's clearly where all the attention and effort went into, the game. It's a much more polished game on that front. But if console's the way to go, and it is actually, again, I ended up playing this game on consoles, mostly due to just wanting a big screen experience for this game with a nice sound system and whatnot. I still am not disappointed at all from the visual quality, and that's coming from someone who's seen this game maxed out on PC and played it there for about 30 hours. So this is a very good looking game, all things aside, and it just needs a lot more polish. That's simply all that it needs, is a lot more polish, and I feel that we have a really good game on our hands here, and I am enjoying the game for what it is. It is a very fun experience when everything's working right. Yes, the bugs suck, but I'm able to ignore them and really just enjoy what it does well, like I said before. So I hope you guys enjoyed this impressions video. I'll probably be back with sort of a longer live commentary video of me playing the game, just sort of exploring the world, doing some side stuff and whatnot, where I can sort of show you guys, especially if you've been on the fence or just wanted to see more of the world and what it has to offer. That's something I would like to do in a video, just talking about some random things here and there, and just enjoying the game. All right? I'll talk with you guys later. Hope you have a good one, and let me know what you think of these impressions videos. So I hope to do more very soon. Thanks.